to the Super Speedway.
Welcome to episode 306 of the Super Speedway podcast, recorded Wednesday, February 7th, 2024. I'm your host, Eric Young, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, James Cush. And James, we've got a special guest here with us tonight. You guys know him as Behrend Speedway. We talk about him here on the podcast all the time. This is his second time appearing here on the podcast. But he is the winner of the Fantasy League this year. Steve is Behrend Speedway. Steve, how's it going tonight?
Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, no problem. We're excited about having you.
Well, you earned it.
Right.
You kicked all of our butts pretty thoroughly last year. So yeah, we finally made it happen right as the season's about to begin.
I managed to get lucky 36 times in a row, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, you made it so good that it was like we gave up on like trying to. Well, I mean, I was never trying to beat you because I suck at fantasy, but James actually had it like thinking he was going to win again, and he gave up so early in the season and just started cheering for you because at that point it's like we're not catching him for anything.
Yeah, it was the top 100 thing became a thing for me. I would check it. Basically, after every Sunday, I would see where you were and look for, okay, where's he at in the top 100? Because you got pretty high, for a while there. It was an awesome run.
Yeah, I was on the front page for a little bit, which really surprised me. I don't know how that was happening, but yeah, it was pretty wild to see the success going up there.
So
there are a couple people whose names like stayed in the top 10 the whole season too, which is pretty impressive.
So you got to tell me, like, what is your strategy? How do you go about? I mean, you put a ton of time into this, or you just winging it I can't imagine you're winging it for 36 weeks, right?
No, I really relied on practice times. So like whenever they would cancel practice, I was that was pretty random, but
gotcha.
Because I guess overall, like the fastest cars were the fastest cars, and they wouldn't really change all that much if they're passing or not. Throughout the race, I guess it's kind of at least to me, it's a little predictable in that way that I can make a good guess.
You hear that, James? You writing that down?
Well, see, I think he's holding back because I look at the practice speeds, and I mean, I think you're just better at it than we are. That's fine.
I guess the part two of that would be the 10 lap speeds.
Yeah. See, there you go. I do the same thing. I try to go 10, 15, around those areas, but I'm just not picking the right guys. I just don't have the right feel for it after last year. So that's okay. Okay.
I just wing it every week. I don't know if you can tell by my consistent 9th place to 13th place finish every week. I just wing it.
Well, see, Eric, it's the way you carry yourself is really where you struggle. You go in already admitting defeat. See, that's See, us champions over here, we don't carry ourselves. We don't carry ourselves that way.
Yeah. Well, I would feel bad about the fact that I've not won my own fantasy league, but technically it's your fantasy league, James. You're the one who sets it up and does all the work every year, so I just play. So barely. I'm like the Rick Ware car showing up every week.
When I won it in 2022, I felt the same way I do about the Lions. If I could just get one, I'm pretty happy with the one. I'm good. I don't know if Steve, I don't know if you feel that way about having at least just getting one, but yeah, I'll take it. I'll take my one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. See, there you go. You were fighting bigger dreams last year though. You were going for, one overall. That was a whole different thing. So
yeah. And I know in previous years I would always try to pick like my favorite driver that I'd want to win, even though there wasn't really a chance. Like there's more rooting for it. But this time around, it was just who I think is the best probability, and it made it more boring.
I was gonna ask you so about being in the top 100, top 50 for a long time. Did you feel I mean, our league is, it's one thing, right? It's just a little fun league we put together, but when you were starting to see yourself up there like consistently, did you feel like a lot of pressure to try to stay there, or were you just like, man, this is kind of cool, I'm just going to kind of enjoy this?
I think there was definitely some pressure. It was cool how they listed who the group was. So like, seeing the Super Speedway podcast was the group on there, which was really neat. But there was a little bit, especially when you get to the I guess not restrictor plate tracks, but kind of like the the random ones.
Yep.
I was a little nervous there. I definitely got lucky on a couple based on strategies on some road courses. So there's definitely some luck with how some cars ended up, but a couple of the guys, I feel like Tyler Reddick was one of those that wrecked near the end whenever he was winning, and I didn't have him in there, but it caused a lot of people had picked him.
Right.
And
Oh yeah.
I jumped up, so yeah, there were definitely some times I was nervous. I would update my wife after every week, like I'm number 100 this week or whatever. It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was like I said, it was fun to keep an eye on you. And it's, you did the heavy lifting of the marketing of the
Yeah.
podcast. And then obviously everything you've got going on your side of things too, with the track and stuff too. I felt like you were definitely doing a little bit of extra marketing, being on the first page there for a while. So that was cool.
Yeah.
So what about this year? You going to retain that strategy? You think you can repeat this year, or are you going to go with a different strategy?
If prior fantasy sports events have told me anything, I'll probably be near the bottom of the leaderboard this time around.
There you go. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm usually
Yeah.
good for one good one, and then after that, I'm not really seen anymore. But
Yeah, the magic doesn't last long. I understand that.
yeah, I
So
think I'll try to do the same strategy, though. We'll see what happens.
good deal. So Steve, talk us a little bit about the racetrack. Obviously, we know you. That's where we heard about you, or James stumbled across you on Instagram with the 164 scale track. That right now I think is kind of infamous now throughout the NASCAR community. I think a lot of the people know who you are and what you're doing out there. But what's new at the old Behrend Speedway? You got any big plans for it, or how are things going with you for that?
Things are going so definitely a little bit slower than usual. I've got almost a 1.5-year-old now, and he's taking a lot of good time in a really good way, and he's actually starting to get into racing, like some
Nice.
cars and stuff, which has been really fun.
Does he
That's
get to play with
perfect.
the track?
Yeah, so I use one of the track mats. He'll play on
Oh,
those.
There you
awesome.
go. Yep.
So he's starting to do that, and he's got a couple cars he'll play on the windowsill with. So that's been a ton of fun. And then in spare time, I'll come down here and work on it a little bit. So there hasn't been much activity on the track lately. I've got the 2007 car set on there that I'm doing some pictures and things with, and I tried to create the speed stage. I wanted to.
Yeah,
I
that's
hadn't
awesome.
put anything on it in a while, so I wanted to replicate the speed stage.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if there's what more can you like whenever I think you're done adding to it, I see something new. And like right now, you mentioned the speed stage. I completely would have forgot that. Like you're always finding something to make it more authentic. I just think that's amazing. What um anything else coming up right now that you're thinking about?
Um, I've got there's a couple kits I found on Etsy for like slot car things. So like
Mhm.
a new scoring pylon, a couple like photography stands. Um, I'm gonna update the lighting, like at least the light poles. So, but because there's like some maintenance things I've got to do with glue coming apart and whatnot that's happened. But yeah, there's things I would like to do. I would love to do a bridge like Dover in turn 2 or
Oh
turn
man.
4, but there's not a lot of space to really drop that down in the infield. So, um, yeah, I'm open to ideas. That's for sure.
So I mean, I see it from our end, but it kind of seems like you've almost become one of the unofficial, advisors to the other folks out there that are trying to build tracks like this. How many people have reached out to you? How many people have you helped get started on building their own model racetrack, essentially?
I think that's been one of the coolest parts about this page and having this track. And it was really the whole origin for making it was to share photos and techniques and kind of learn from other people too. And so that's been really neat with people asking around, you know, what did I use for the walls? What did I use for the track? And um, there's been a lot that have come out to ask and have done it, whether it would be on like a piece of plywood or something. But a lot of people are really interested, and then a few have gone and actually made their check, like a Timberlink Raceway.
Yes.
He's made a few that have been really good, um, and they're using the techniques of with a foam board, which is really cool. I there's a few I've walked through while they're at the like Lowe's or Home Depot. and we're messaging back and forth. I'm letting him know like what to get and stuff like that, which has been really fun. Um, yeah, there's that's been really cool being able to learn or share techniques and things that I've done. There's some things I would do differently if I were to make a new one. At
That's
least in
that's
this.
what I was going to ask you. Like, what have you learned? What's the biggest thing you've learned that you would have done differently if you started now?
Um, I think the transitions and taking my time a little bit more with the foam board. So on the turns, it's a 2 inch thick foam board, and then on the straightaways, it's a 1 inch. And then I give myself it's about 10 inches to do the transition. So I wish I took my time a little bit more to get that right because it kind of makes a little bit of a jump off turn two. And I've thought about going back and redoing it, but I just haven't done it yet. Um, and there are a couple other things like with the lighting, making sure I drill through all the way down to the bottom of the table. That way I can hide my wires a little bit more.
Gotcha.
And if I were to make a new track, I was looking at making a road course at some point, and I really wanted to use a lot of model railroading techniques and kind of the modeling and the topography, landscaping a little bit more to dive into that. But um, yeah, I think those are what I would change, at least from the track of what I've built so far.
Awesome. Awesome. Who's the biggest person, or maybe that stands out the most that you've drawn attention from with your page?
Um, from Corey LaJoy was the big one at the beginning. So back when he was driving for TriStar, in the '72 car with the monkey garage,
Okay.
he had made a custom car of that car and tagged him in it, and he saw it and started liking it. And he was following and comment. This was, I guess, before he has a PR person doing his Instagram page now.
Right.
Um, but whenever he was driving for Go Fast Racing, he had that Scooby Doo 16 or Scooby Doo car, and he sent me the prototype sample
Oh, that's
of that
awesome.
car. Just randomly, he asked for my address. I'm like, I guess I'll give you my address, and car shows up in the mail. So, you know, that was really cool. He's made me a lifelong fan from that, just with how he reached out. And there have been a few other drivers who've followed the page. Dale Jr. had followed it for a little bit and then unfollowed. Um,
You must have offended him.
I guess
Yeah.
so, yeah. But it's been neat, like seeing some drivers and teams. RFK, I'll get some stuff from them a little bit. Um, and then like Lionel Racing too has been cool. I've been talking with them a lot, and yeah, it's been really neat. Everyone in the industry too. There's some other crew members and members of teams who follow the page as well.
One of the things that I remember, gosh, and this might have been about a year ago now, or maybe a little bit less than that, was when I've seen your track basically made in the digital space. Um, I saw, I think it was Lefty who created the video, if I'm not mistaken, right? Who has designed, he does designs for many teams, kind of across the board. But I remember seeing, just kind of randomly scrolling Instagram, and I saw this video, um, and that car going on the track. I think it was Chase Elliott, and I was like, that looks like, it caught my attention just because I knew your track, and I'm like, that looks like Behrend Speedway. And sure enough, it totally was. How did that come to be? I've been wanting to ask you about that, because I think just whenever I see your track, like the possibility of it being in like iRacing or something I think is just fun. Like, it's got to be unbelievable, right?
It is so cool, and what's really neat is just everyone taking the time to want to do it.
Mhm.
So yeah, so Lefty had reached out, um, uh, I guess a couple years ago, and he was mentioning wanting to make one, and um, he was got busy with doing all of his other awesome renderings with these other tracks, and then he messaged me again saying that he was gonna get back into designing it, and so he was looking for like pictures and things like that, and man, with the work he's able to do, and then to see that in the rendering with those late model cars, I just could not believe it. I kept on watching that video over and over and over again because
It's
it
amazing.
was so
Yeah.
wild and surreal to see. And he had captured the whole surrounding area really well too. And Yeah, that was awesome. With all the work that he's done in the NASCAR community, to see him wanting to do that was really cool.
That's
Yeah,
really neat.
yeah, I mean, the things that he puts out are always so eye-catching. He's just got such a, I don't know, he just he has like the best grasp of everything, and he knows exactly how to deliver a product at the end. Like his finished work is always so polished. And then to see you guys collaborate on something like that, I was blown away when I saw it. And like I said, caught my attention because I knew the track because I've been following you for so long. I'm just like, dang it, that definitely is it. And then I saw a couple of angles, and it's just like you said, the renderings, all the surroundings, everything around the track. He got it because it caught me without even knowing that it was out there in the first place. It just kind of in passing. I'm like, oh man, there it is.
Well, it's funny, James, and I think you're like me in this aspect that you'll see a commercial or you'll see a video or something somewhere and you see the track and you immediately go like, what track is that? Look for clues. But I can do the same thing with Behrend Speedway that I can do with Daytona or Michigan or Charlotte because I've seen it so many times and feel like, I've become very familiar with the place over the years just through Instagram. So one of these days, Steve, we're going to get out there and actually check it out in person. But it's so very cool. Very cool.
For sure. I'd love to have you guys.
Yeah. So I don't remember when you talked at Chicagoland a few years ago. I don't remember if I asked this then. I'm sure I did, but I don't remember the answer. Who are you rooting for on Sundays? Who's your driver? Who's your go-to on Sundays?
I've always been a fan of Jeff Gordon, and since Jeff Gordon left, I've kind of just jumped around a little bit. It's like it was Chase Elliott, but he's not really fun for me to follow. But now it's Spire Motorsports once they started getting up there, and then of course Corey LaJoie going over there, and then Carson Hocevar going there. It seems like the perfect team to root for now. So
yeah. I mean, that's
rooting for them.
That's got to be pretty cool because Carson's from your backyard. That's got to be kind of neat. I'm sure you've probably seen him rise through the ranks, right?
I hadn't really gone to Berlin a whole bunch. I saw him race there before. He started going to the Truck Series once, and then a couple of times he was there for an ARCA race spotting for, I think it was the 50 car that Nice was running the one time, and so he was there. And because I moved out into Grand Rapids area in 2015.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And so I hadn't really started going to Berlin except for the ARCA races and a couple other local races, and didn't really know exactly who he was until we started winning the late model races, and then bam, he was in the Truck Series. So, it's really cool whenever he is at the track that there's a lot of excitement. Seeing him up walking around the garage area or in the stands or up spotting.
Yeah, awesome. He was making the rounds when we were out there covering SRX.
Yeah.
He was definitely kind of he doesn't go unnoticed anymore because I think he's risen through the ranks at a pretty rapid rate. So
he's also really tall, so it's kind of hard for him to sneak around.
Yeah. yeah, he can't do that. He can't duck in like most of the drivers can. No.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot here, Steve, before we let you go. James and I are going to do our picks next week. We'll go through our whole season preview and all that stuff and make our awful predictions on the season. But I'm putting you on the spot a week early. Who's your pick to win the Cup Series championship in 2024?
Oh boy,
that's a hard question. I don't even want to answer that question.
I don't have an answer either. Dale Jr., by the way, just in case you're wondering, thinks Blaney's going back to back. So
back to back. Well, that's tough.
Yeah, right. It's never been done.
That's not with this format. No.
Yeah.
Man,
boy, that'd be tough.
That's a great question. I kind of think it's going to be William Byron.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good pick.
Yep.
Though it kind of depends on how the new Ford and Toyota bodies will be.
Right.
If Chevy is going to take a step back or not, because it seems like whenever a new body update happens, that those cars tend to be quicker. Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be him. He's been up there, and Christopher Bell, I think would be another one, but he's not really talked about all that much.
Yeah.
But he's shown up in the championship for.
He's the underdog that's not really an underdog.
Yeah,
he's man, he's so good. Him and Byron, there's so much talent now, and those guys kind of fly under the radar. But Byron, after last year, he's not. I don't know if he's under the radar anymore, but even Bell, he's still, I think, under the radar. I think they talked about that in the Netflix show.
Yeah.
A little bit, and I'm like, this guy's coming for all the stuff pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really do believe that, so I think that's a good choice too.
Not going with Denny Hamlin, huh? No Denny this year.
I don't think he does it. As much as that Netflix show wanted to make it seem like he was going to be doing it,
yeah.
I don't think he gets it.
Not yet, anyway.
They were definitely Denny Hamlin fans on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, we'll let you get back to your kid. We thank you very much for joining us this week. Congratulations on the fantasy win. We look forward to racing against you this season, Behrend. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me, and thank you guys for doing this podcast as well. It's been a great listen, and I appreciate the interaction for sure.
Oh man, glad you like it, and it's been awesome to get to know you just a little bit, and two, I was gonna add before you go, I don't know how often you're pushing the track mats, but they are a hit.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask you that. Do you have any more of those? Are you still selling those?
Yeah,
I am. Yeah. After Christmas, I had to look around for a different printer, but I found one, and I should be getting some more in middle of this month.
How can people get them from you? Do they just visit your Facebook or Instagram page?
Yeah, I've got links in there to my eBay and Etsy, and I also have a new design coming out too.
Awesome.
Dirt track.
Ooh.
no kidding.
Yeah.
See, we're getting the good stuff.
Yes, we are.
Before anybody else. That's great. I might have to order the dirt track now. My two girls love playing on the mat still. And I've had it. Yeah, I've had it well, I got it when you first got them out there. Yeah, I mean, I keep it, and I always tell them to be gentle with it because I'm a little bit of a, I don't like my die cast getting slammed around and all that stuff. So I tell them to go easy. They go hard, man. They just play hard, and it holds up though. It holds up. So
nice.
It's something I always wanted as a kid to have something similar to that. And I think we all had probably the rugs, right? The road course rugs or whatever. But this thing, man, legit. Like if I was back in my heyday of playing with my die cast, man, I would have loved to have had one of these. So if you've got little ones out there, it's an awesome. It's just cool, man. And it's, Steve, you were talking about it when you were talking about your son, and I felt the same way watching especially my 3-year-old, because she's into more of that stuff a little bit than my oldest daughter. She's definitely she's more of a princess, but but watching my 3-year-old play with die casts and race them around a mat made me feel something, because it's like such a tie back to what I was, when I was a kid. So I think it's really cool what you're doing there too, man. I wanted to make sure that I brought that up while you were still here.
For sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anything else you want to plug while you're here?
Oh no, I'm all good.
Definitely check them out. Behrend Speedway on Instagram. Very cool track. If you haven't checked it out, I mean, we've talked about it a million times in this show, but we'll plug you all day long because it's probably the coolest thing we've ever stumbled across. So, big thanks to James for finding that for me and sending it my direction. So, thanks for being on the show a second time now. Again, congratulations on the win last season. See you do it again this year. Thanks for coming on. All right, Behrend Speedway. Thanks again for joining us. Very cool interview, James. A lot of fun and very cool to have him on the show once again. So,
absolutely.
Let's talk some racing, because we had racing this weekend, James. We weren't sure if we were going to have racing, and then we had racing a day early.
Was that not the wildest? What was it like? Kind of like a whirlwind 6 hours or 4 hours?
It was even stranger for me because I was busy, and so I checked social media and just happened to see the post from Pacris that they were moving it up. It's like, holy crap. Like NASCAR's never done that before. They never moved a race the day before. The most they move it up is like an hour or maybe 2 back in the old days, but generally they don't move races. So, but yeah, Busch Light Clash at the Coliseum gets kind of a underwhelming show a day earlier than planned. But fortunately they did that because I don't know if it stopped raining in California yet.
It's I saw something on the news today. There's still damage and destruction out that way. So
that's crazy.
Hindsight is what it is, but they got this call completely right, because there's no way it was going to be worse than anything else. I know there's probably people mad or whatever, but I mean, Eric, it started raining an hour after the event was done or whatever, and
Yeah.
it was bad. So they made the right call. I don't even think there's an argument to be had there. Had to do it.
No, I don't think so. And before we talk about the race and the winners and all that, James, I just wanted to hit on one thing here. The complaint I kept seeing on social media was, man, there's nobody there.
Well, yeah.
No kidding. Because 4 hours before that, there wasn't supposed to be a race. And 2 weeks before that, people weren't even allowed in the freaking stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So no kidding, there was nobody there. And yeah, I get that it was a free event, but come on, you like, not only that, but you got rain coming. Then there's warnings all over the place saying it's going to be a dangerous storm. Are you
Like
really going to
apocalypse.
drive out to the freaking Coliseum to go watch a race, even if it's free? I mean, it just, come on. And honestly, James, considering what we had, LA, we've kind of historically seen with this clash over the last 2 years that the crowd shows up late anyway, because it's LA.
Right. It's LA.
And by the time the race was over, I thought they had a pretty damn decent crowd for a day that there wasn't supposed to be a race, don't you think?
I think, yeah, they said somewhere over 5,000 by the time it was done to get there, which, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, that's not terrible for what you had. And I thought the TV ratings were actually good too, compared, I mean,
Right.
what was it, 1.17 million viewers on a whim on FS1? Listen, man, all circumstances considered, that's a big win to get your event in and have it be relatively pretty decent and you know, on to Daytona.
The only thing I might have changed, and I didn't, again, I wasn't watching the stuff during the day, so I don't know exactly how everything played out and whatnot. But I might have done a random draw and gotten rid of practice and qualifying, or practice essentially, and just run heat races, and maybe have every group go out, run, I don't know, 5 laps just to shake the cars down, pull them in, and then go run 15 lap heat races or 10 lap heat races or whatever. Just something to give some of these guys a little bit better chance to get into the show and at least showcase their sponsors and whatnot a little bit more. Cause that's gotta be a bummer for these guys that finished outside or that didn't qualify for the event, that got very little TV time as a result. That would have at least gotten some TV time had they, I mean, I guess the heats were the day before anyway. So if you got sent home, you weren't going to be in the show on Sunday period to begin with.
Right.
So maybe it's not as big of a deal, but it's a small gripe because, again, they did what they needed to do to get the show itself in. They ran every lap of it. We even got a green, white checker. You can't ask for anything more than that. It's a little different if it's, you know, at Daytona or somewhere close by and not a temporary track that has to be torn up. Although from what I understand, they were in the clear and they could have kept the track up a little longer if they had to, but that's beside the point. The right decision all around by NASCAR. Yeah. One more thing on the attendance thing, James. I don't understand why we care about attendance, to be quite honest. I think we've determined on this show,
it's about TV, man.
It's about TV. I think we've determined with the next TV contract that it's about TV. And I pledge at this point, today, February 7th, 2024, that we don't ever talk about attendance on this show again.
That'll be fine with me.
I don't care if nobody shows up to the race. We ran races with no fans during COVID and NASCAR survived. Shut up about the attendance. I don't care.
Yeah. It's
it's a moving target anyway, because you got tracks like Iowa. Iowa's sold out for their summer race, right? Big deal. Iowa's sold out. There's hardly any seats in that place, and they're not putting temporary ones in.
It's not even half of Daytona. So
North Wilkesboro sold out by a ton, but North Wilkesboro doesn't seat that many people. You know, Bristol Motor Speedway, oh my God, the crowd's so small. Well, the crowd is 3/4 full for the night race in a track that seats more fans than most of the big tracks on the circuit.
Right.
You know, a 3/4 of a crowd at Bristol, so pretty damn good crowd. So it's all a visual, and we don't care because people are let's put it this way. If the TV deal that was just signed doesn't show that NASCAR is in a better place financially than it's ever been, then
Yep.
What are we doing? Like,
we're doing yeah, everything's going fine.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be okay.
The other thing is the people that complain every week about, well, we don't want to move the Clash back to Daytona because these teams don't want to go out and tear up equipment just for a special race, whatever. That's not for you and me to care about. These guys signed up to race. These guys signed up to race in the Cup Series. I don't care that they lose money to go out to the Coliseum to run this race and they're forced to go out there because they're a charter team and they didn't make the race. Tough. That's what you signed up for. That's what you have the charter for. If you don't like it, don't participate. Done.
Gotta race. Races are announced. You gotta race.
There you go.
I'm okay with it. It's no big deal. Here's the thing about the Clash that everybody seems to forget. And I don't want to blame Jeff Gluck too much, but this wasn't a good race stuff.
Yeah.
It's really like we gotta stop.
Yeah, I'm over was it a good race poll?
Yeah, it's doesn't do anything. It doesn't do any good. It's not new. I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to do that. The Clash is just an infomercial for the rest of the season, guys.
Uh-huh.
It's a glorified commercial. Let's just have fun with the race and be on our way. You don't have to take it too seriously. I'm not a huge fan of what the Clash is. I wasn't a huge fan of what it had become over the years, but I sure was nostalgic for it back in the day. But it's all changing, man. The whole sport's changed. The Clash is going to be different. Rumors have it we'll be racing maybe in Mexico or Guatemala. What is it, Guadalajara?
I don't know. I think Guadalajara is the right.
Yeah, so who knows?
I heard Dale Jr. say potentially Canada, which I don't know how that's going to happen. You don't race in Canada in February.
You can't race in Canada in February
unless you're in Toronto in the Dome. Maybe you could pull it off. But
I did see Jeff Striegel tweet out that it was 50 degrees at Berlin today.
Well,
and the track's dry, so we could probably race the Clash at the Berlin Raceway.
There you go, Berlin Raceway 2025 Clash.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. You want to hear a shocker though?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you ready for a shocking moment?
I'm sitting down. Go for it, man.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. wants the Clash to go back to Daytona.
No kidding.
Can you believe that? And he wants it to go back. He wants it to be pole winners again.
There you go. Sounds good.
No, I'm sorry. The Daytona Speed Weeks thing, as much fun as it was, is not going to happen again. I don't see the Clash ever going back there. I'd be all right with it, but I don't know. Super Speedway races, and I love Super Speedway races, James, but Super Speedway races just aren't what they used to be.
And I've said it before.
And don't take this to a road course.
No, God, we already tried that. We did that before.
Don't do that.
No, I've said this before, and I still feel this way, that the race not being the week before Daytona and having it be a celebration of like the start of the season does take something is being taken away there. Some of the excitement is being taken away there, but I think over time we'll adjust to that and we'll continue to build excitement around the Daytona 500, which is our biggest race. It's our biggest event of the year. It should be exciting, and I feel like we're still missing some of that, but on the other hand, I think if we keep the Clash fresh, which I think was the mistake this year, I think 3 years in one place might be too long. I think you got to keep it fresh because it was exciting that first year. This year, not so much.
3-year contracts seem to be the NASCAR deal, though.
Yeah, I'd like to see them do two-year deals, two-year deals, and go from there unless it's a complete disaster. Or go to year. Who cares?
James,
NASCAR has shown they can race anywhere. We can do anything.
Do you know how I know that you're right about the fact that it doesn't kick off Speed Weeks the way it used to?
Oh, crap. Yeah. What is that?
We're now about 15 minutes into discussing this race, and we haven't talked about the winner.
Yeah. It's an infomercial.
Exactly. Because it wasn't about the winner. It was about the show.
It is about the show. It's always about the show.
There was less of a show this year because of the weather and because of it getting moved up. From my understanding, the concert at the halftime still could have happened, but they were afraid of extending it and having it rain. So it was only an 8-minute break for the middle, which was the right decision. Again, another correct decision.
Unpopular opinion, or maybe it's the most popular opinion. We all were saved from that halftime performance.
I
We
don't.
all we
I don't
all
even
lucked out
know
there.
who it was, so
I don't. It's not even worth bringing up. But we were saved. I know who it was. We were okay. We did fine. We're good.
So Denny Hamlin goes out, gets himself another Clash win. I say another, even though this is, this isn't the Clash. This isn't your grandpa's Clash.
Right.
But Denny Hamlin gets the win. You've gotten the notes from Netflix, started Clash winner. I like that. He then makes a fool out of himself by trying to repeat his tagline from Bristol, which just fell so flat.
Yeah. Well, there's
So
nobody there
flat.
to talk crap to. Who kind of.
He still was getting pretty good boos. For that.
Yeah. Well, he's done that to himself. He knows what he's in for now.
This is Denny's fourth Clash victory. Again, only first at Coliseum, but 3 previous ones at Daytona. 2006, 2014, 2016. Famously won his first Clash in 2006 that he qualified in because he won a pole the year before.
Right.
So he ran his rookie season, got to run Clash and won it. So,
Yeah.
James, I don't know about you, but I was really looking forward to Ty Gibbs dumping Denny Hamlin to take the win because
Yeah.
Ty Gibbs has proven that he'll wreck a teammate to win. When it doesn't matter.
Kid's
So,
starving for it. Yeah.
I was really waiting for it to happen because I wanted to see how Denny was going to politic and play the angry driver / friendly teammate in that role when he got on his podcast on Monday. But unfortunately we didn't get to see that, but we did get to see Ty Gibbs and Joey Logano arguing with each other.
Good Lord. That was a tickle fight. was that not the weirdest thing you've ever seen?
Is it dumb to be fighting during this race? I mean, they didn't fight, but to argue during this race, really? I mean,
it's good. It's good for us.
It is
because
good.
it is fun and it's great social media content because man, you get some funny stuff out of that.
Just seems silly. These two, though, I mean, this is an ongoing feud. This is Denny mentioned on his podcast this week that this is Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain 2.0. Maybe not quite yet, but I think there's more to come between these two yet this season. What do you think?
Well, yeah, and I think it's only going to get heightened because I'm pretty confident Ty Gibbs is coming. He's not going to be running mid pack for long. He's going to be up front quite a bit. And Joey, we know Joey's going to be up front. They're going to be seeing a lot of each other here in the next however many years Joey wants to race. They're going to see a lot of each other.
Yeah, they're going to be side by side a lot. So there's plenty of time for contact between these two.
Yep, absolutely.
Speaking of Ross Chastain, he gets into it with McDowell, right? Was that who it was?
Yeah. McDowell. Well, he got into it with a handful of.
Yeah.
He was back to stirring the pot. Like that looked like Ross Chastain out there.
Yeah.
He was mixing it up. He was getting part of the Ross Chastain experience is nobody likes racing around him, so he's getting it on both sides.
So who was it? I don't remember who it was that said it this week. I don't know if it was DBC or if it was on Denny's podcast, but somebody mentioned that maybe Ross, I think it was DBC, maybe it was Junior. I don't know. I think it was Junior that said it, that Ross didn't really change last year when we said he changed because it was just a coincidence that Ross races like a bozo he didn't use it. He's a hard-nosed racer when he's competitive, and he just wasn't competitive for a good chunk of the season.
The car was
last year.
bad. Yeah.
But as soon as he got competitive again, then he's back to that hard-nosed racer that you're going to have to deal with. And I think we got to see a little glimpse of that at the Clash, and I think that might be right. It might be a correct statement.
Well, the last 2 races, he's been stirring it up. If you go back to the championship race, I mean, Brian Blaney was screaming at him on the radio because he's, but yeah, I mean, that makes sense when there's something to be had. That man's not afraid to just take it. Right. So I mean, he's going to do what he's got to do.
If you think about it, I mean, Ross has been a field filler. He's played that role. And if he doesn't have the equipment to go up there and race, he's not going to do it. He's not going to tear up stuff. If he's got the opportunity to do it.
Yeah. Maybe he's good at taking what the car gives him.
Do you think maybe he's a smarter racer than you think he is?
Oh, I wouldn't doubt that.
I know you're a big Ross Chastain fan. I'm going to get you praising him by the end of the season. That's my goal this year.
He really annoys me too much. The Netflix thing didn't do him any justice either. So I know they tried to paint him as the everyman farmer, but he's not a farmer. He's not an everyman farmer.
I still, coming from a Tony Stewart fan, I don't understand your hate for Ross Chastain and Denny Hamlin.
He just rubs me the wrong way, man. He just rubs me the wrong way. That's all.
Another driver that is hard nosed and probably going to be getting into it with people this year, but maybe not run as well as Ty Gibbs and Ross Chastain. John Hunter Nemechek managed to piss off Ricky Stenhouse in this one as well.
Yeah, Ricky. Ricky climbed in his window there a little bit.
Did you listen to Radioactive?
No, I did. I didn't see the Radioactive.
He pulled in and he says, "How long is this break?" They said 8 minutes, and he climbs right out of his car. That's back there.
Yeah, you're not supposed to get out of your car.
No.
Are you? Maybe. I didn't see that. That's really funny.
Yeah. Yep. So he was making sure he had enough time to go back there and yell at him through the window.
Hey, you got to set the young buck straight once in a while.
John Hunter's going to cause some trouble for some people, but I don't know if John Hunter's going to be competitive enough to cause trouble for the front runners.
When you've been wrecking cars as long as Ricky Stenhouse has, you know when you're in a situation where you're about to tear stuff up.
Yeah.
So that's really great. I got to give him bonus credit for that. I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I love that.
Oh
man.
So I know we said not a good. We don't like the was it a good race poll? But do you think? I mean, for what we had weather-wise this weekend, I think we got a decent show out of it. We got to see some racing. We got to see the cars on the track. Got a little bit of a preview, and now we get to wait a week for the big show.
Yep.
I mean, for what it was, I was happy with the Clash. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was entertaining, and shoot, man, it was a pretty short event. You get the race in, off we go, on to the next thing.
14 minutes or whatever for the first stage. That was, or till the first caution. That was great.
Yeah, we were flying.
We ran almost the whole first half of the race in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I gotta wonder. I mean, we saw like you were saying, we saw a handful of feuds out there, and I don't know, the way that track is. I don't know if I'd ever get mad at anybody out there. It's hard. But
these guys are all they're nuts though, James. There's a screw loose. I mean, because when it comes down to it, the purse is nothing for these guys, and that's for the winner. Like, you don't get crap for finishing second. So to be pissed off over sixth place, like, it's stupid. But these guys are not tuned like we are, and they put that helmet on, and they're just gung ho. They're going for the every position. Every position matters.
Yeah, and it's funny to me because I'm like, well, there's nothing these guys can do when they're getting spun out from 4 cars back.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, I guess you can get frustrated by it. And Ty Gibbs had a great day going, and the same thing happened to him, and he was pretty feisty. So, I guess you like to see it. Like I said, it's an infomercial, right? So if you get, you get people fired up, and you get the clips, and you can share them, and you can analyze them a little bit. I think that's all. That's just engagement. That's good. That's what NASCAR wants. And now we're, got a little bit of momentum heading into Daytona. Of course, everybody's focused on the Super Bowl this week, but after that, man, we're up. It's our turn. So yeah, I like where we're at.
Ty Gibbs leads 84 laps in this one, ends up finishing 18th after getting wrecked at the end. You and I both, I think, are on the same page. He's going to be a force this year.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to do preview next week, right?
Yeah.
So,
I just want to kind of touch on what we learned from this race, I guess, if we learned anything.
Yeah, and that's something, because I've been thinking about I've been thinking about this year a little bit as we get to the start of the season, and thinking about what I want to say on this podcast for the preview.
Right.
And I keep coming back to that kid and thinking that he's going to have a monster season for whatever reason. Like, he's going to like Jeff Gordon style burst out in his second year, like sophomore year.
So you think multiple wins for him this year?
Oh, man, I find it hard to believe he won't, because the one thing that we saw from him,
so many good drivers though.
It's hard. Oh, I know it's hard, but the one thing, Eric, I saw from him last year that makes me confident in where I'm feeling or where I'm standing right now is every time we go somewhere for the second time, that kid just improved, and he had a couple of close calls there towards the end of the season. God, I wouldn't be surprised by any. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out the gate banging out top 5s, and is threatening for wins right out of the gate. It's hard to take what you see in the Clash and correlate it to anything else, because it's so wildly different. But what you saw from Ty Gibbs is maturity. I mean, he raced really well, considering what that race was. He just got, bad circumstance. He wasn't able to do much with it. He restarted well. He held his position well. All things you want to see from a young driver. Like, he raced smart. So
If I'm Ty Gibbs, I have a big old circle on my calendar for the end of March, beginning of April.
Yeah.
Because you got Phoenix on March 10th, which maybe. But then you got Circuit of America's March 24th. We know he's a great road course racer. You got Richmond March 31st. And then I think the big one for him is Martinsville on April 7th. Yeah. If he doesn't have a win by Texas, then something went wrong. I feel like one of those tracks he's going to get himself a W in.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yep.
Martinsville's a great shot for him. And he's got other guys he's going to go up against. I mean, he's going to go up against Josh Berry at Martinsville, who's really good at Martinsville, who's running Kevin Harvick's old car at Martinsville. So who knows? But man, he's going to be something, I think. I'm with you.
Yep. Yeah, we're just going to have to keep an eye on it. I really, I know it took somebody like William Byron some time to adjust, but I don't know, the way the trajectory of Ty Gibbs has been pretty pretty straight up.
Right.
he's had a pretty good trajectory so far. I really think he's gonna break out a little bit more this year. I think 2 or 3 wins is definitely in the cards for him. So that puts him in a that puts him in a pretty good spot if he can pull it off.
Ryan Blaney started dead last, had to take a provisional to get in this race. Races his way through the field, almost wins it on a track he can't pass on, supposedly. Joey Logano, his teammate, very strong in this one, started second, finished 4th.
Yep.
Got to believe those Penske cars, especially those two. Those ones are going to be tough this year too.
Yep.
Then Kyle Busch, 3rd year in this race. I think he's never finished worse than 3rd.
Yep, all podiums.
Yeah,
got a medal each time. Yep.
So I mean, good on him. And Brad Keselowski makes the race for the first time. That was cool to see.
Yep.
Anybody else jump out at you in this thing, James? Any storylines we want to take out of here? Other than those?
There was. Oh gosh, I accidentally closed. Give me just a second because just a second. Yeah, there's one more driver I wanted to shout out, and I'm having issues, but give me just a moment. I'll get the Clash. I'm still in preseason form, man.
How about,
you know what I mean?
How about Justin Haley making the field in the Rick Ware car?
That was it. Yeah, Justin Haley was having a good run. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good on him. Has engine problems, which relegates him to 21st, but I think that organization is going to be. I don't know where they go because I don't know who they knock out to improve.
Yeah,
but they're not the Rick Ware Racing of old.
Yeah, that is when you bring in Justin Haley, you're trying to do something. Yeah. So, good on them.
He's gonna be a threat next weekend.
He was running so good for a little while there.
Yeah. But I mean, seriously, you put Justin Haley in a competitive car at Daytona.
Mm-hmm.
That's a potential winner right there.
Yep,
he could be a spoiler.
Yep, he could. Absolutely.
He could lock himself in the playoffs, lock Rick Ware Racing in the playoffs the first week. Yeah. Can you imagine?
It would be a thing, right? It would be a thing. Yeah, that's man. Yeah, that was cool to see. That's probably one of the better runs that car has even had, or that team has even had.
Yeah.
You know who else was pretty good was I thought the 2311 guys were pretty solid. Yeah. Those guys were hanging around. Corey LaJoie was hanging around. But Justin Haley was the one I wanted to shout out because I was thoroughly impressed with how that car was making its way through the field there for a while. So, yep, good call.
There you go. So where do we go from here, James? The Clash likely not coming back to the Coliseum next year. We've heard rumors, Mexico. Other than that, we haven't heard much of where in Mexico. Guadalajara mentioned. What would you like to see out of the Clash next year or in the future? What do you think? Let's forget about the rumors. If you had your way, what would you do with the Clash?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think I'd like to move it around every couple of years somewhere. It's hard to say let's go to another stadium because there's not really like preseason. There's not a whole lot of places we can go. Like you can't go to New York, right?
Yeah.
You can't go to New York City. You can't go to a dome like Dallas.
Why can't you?
I mean, I guess you could.
They run monster trucks in the domes.
Yeah, I
Could
guess
they
you could.
run a NASCAR race at Ford Field?
Could you put dirt in there and run? Ford Field's. I just feel like it's so small, but I mean,
Ford Field would be impossible because there's nowhere to pit the cars outside of the stadium.
Yeah,
They can't
Lucas
even pit
Oil in
Supercross
Indianapolis
out there.
Yeah,
Lucas Oil could do it. They've got a big parking lot.
That's a big place. So yeah, I mean the stadium thing's hard unless you move the.
What about? I mean, you got soccer stadiums all over the world.
Yep, I know that's a possibility too.
Somebody mentioned Europe, but I think Europe doesn't Europe same climate as us pretty much this time of year.
Pretty much, yeah.
So I mean, you
what
have to be indoors.
Suzuka, Japan. Go back to Japan.
Now
Like
again,
the twin ring.
no, I don't want to. I don't think the twin ring. I don't think it's. I think it's too big for an exhibition race like this. I think you want to keep the short track aspect. I would really like to see us stay in stadiums and just rotate every couple of years, go to a different stadium. I liked what DBC said. Follow the Super Bowl. You know, wherever the Super Bowl is this year, we race there next year.
That's not a bad idea.
You know, so
it'd be Las Vegas.
I don't want to see. I don't want to see the Clash go to a track we race at. I like the fact that the All-Star race is at a track we don't race at. This is an event that doesn't follow the rules of every other event. You don't have to have 40 cars on the track. You don't have to have a full field. You don't have to have live pit stops. You can do something different with it. So that warrants this race to go to places that you can't go with a regular Cup Series race.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that aspect. I think going to other short tracks around the country, that's tough because you just don't have the seating capacity. You don't have the infrastructure. These stadiums do. And you don't have to, I mean, you have to build a track, but you don't have to build a stadium. You'd have to build up some of these short tracks so much to be able to put Cup cars in there. I mean, look what they did with North Wilkesboro. You just can't do it anywhere. But I don't know. I like what it is. I don't think it's run. I think it ran its course at Daytona. I'd love to see it go back, James, to being a 20-lap race with just the pole winners, but it's just not going to happen. And even if it does, it's not going to have the pomp and circumstance that it used to have. You're just not getting that back. People aren't going to come sit in the seats for that anymore. You're better off taking this to a track with 30 to 60,000 people or seats that you can fill than take it to Daytona with 160,000 that you're going to put 20,000 in. Mm-hmm. It just makes more sense to run it somewhere that wants you versus Daytona that's got the big race next weekend. We don't need this race at Daytona. So
right. Keep making it different. It's hard because I think too, at some point they're going to run into a problem where everything different's going to become the same.
Right.
So we've already ran on dirt, right? We've run on the streets. We've run inside stadiums. There's only so many places.
Yeah.
Like you can't really keep things different forever, but you can continue to move it around. It'd be fun to go to Talladega or something, just to, I'm just throwing different ideas.
I got one for you. If you want to bring it back to Daytona, let's bring back the Bash of the Beach. And instead of doing it on the backstretch, because those stands are gone, let's do it where they put the dog leg in between turn 4 and the tri-oval. Let's build a quarter-mile racetrack right there. Let's run the Cup Series race, the Clash on that track. Let's run the, all the small series on it. Let's run the ARCA race there instead of running them on the big track. Let's have a big show down there and the week leading up to Speed Weeks. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
You got the seating. You got all the infrastructure there to do it. Perfect.
Yep.
So, I don't know. Anything else with the Clash before we move on out of it?
No, I think, I think if this is it, that was a pretty successful 3-year run.
Yeah.
They should be happy with what they got, and they should be proud of themselves for for making that event happen. They showed us the
I think
impossible
for
is
the
possible.
fact that they went out on such a limb with this and so out of the box with it, I think it was a gigantic success, even with this year and the weather.
Yep. Yeah, you can't do anything about the weather. We know that. Chicago street, can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they did the best they could this year with what they had.
Yep.
But I think the whole thing, bottle it up. It was a nice 3-year run. So I'm excited to see what they come up with next.
I'm disappointed I never got to go out there and see it. So I hope they keep doing the stadium thing and bring it closer to Michigan, and I'll go. So
yeah, there you go. Yep.
There you go. Let's talk some news. We got a few news items. We'll bust through these pretty quick because this has already been a pretty long podcast for the Clash follow up.
Yeah.
Fontana, big shocker here, James. The Fontana most likely the short track or whatever the hell they're doing out there most likely won't be ready for 2025.
Yep.
I don't think we're surprised by that, right? We don't even know what the design's going to look like.
Nope, they still haven't torn down the main grandstand in the tower yet. So something is in the works. But yeah, that's a big project, man. You're taking a pretty big place and trying to completely redo it. So
yeah,
I still feel optimistic we're going to see racing out there again.
I'm not,
because the windows just doesn't seem shut.
We're gonna race in California somewhere. We're gonna race in Southern California, but I don't think it's gonna be there.
Yeah. I think we'll eventually get there. I really do. I really think they're gonna make it work. NASCAR does not want to leave that market. They will make it happen. That place will race again.
I bet you we race on the streets of LA in place of the streets of Chicago before we race on Fontana.
Yeah, that might be.
I think LA might embrace a street race more than they'd embrace a race out at Fontana. I mean, Fontana's not LA. It's 2 hours outside LA.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a long ways outside of LA. I've driven by it.
It is. Yep. It's way out there.
With traffic, it's probably 4 hours outside of LA.
I know Las Vegas, their street race, that whole thing with F1 has not been the greatest thing ever, but they've got some permanent structure built in there, which is helpful. So I don't know what the next one's going to look like, but yeah, we could street race in LA. I mean, we did that for years. With smaller series, West Coast series and things like that. So I guess that's a possibility, but
speaking of F1, you think NASCAR opens up their arms nice and wide to Andretti and says, "Hey, come on over here. Formula One doesn't want your money. We'll take it."
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Here's two extra charters. Come race.
Let me spin that back on you. Have you ever known NASCAR not to accept $1?
Right. That's true. That's true.
We'll take your money, of course.
Dale Jr. is a free agent, James. Found that out this week thanks to his podcast. I'm assuming that's where you found it out too, right?
No, I actually saw it on Twitter.
Okay.
So somebody
listened to the podcast and reported on Twitter.
Yeah, it was Stern. Stern had it, I
there you
think.
go. Yeah, Junior talked about it. Said he still plans on going back to NBC if he can, but right now he's a free agent. The download is on YouTube now instead of Peacock, and he has no ties to NBC at this point. So maybe we'll see him pop up on Fox once this season. That'd be kind of cool.
Maybe, yeah.
I like him in the booth with Mike Joy.
You know what, I was thinking about this too, and I haven't read all the pieces on it, so if this is repetitive, just stop me. But NBC was in negotiations for a new deal.
Yep.
And was understanding that NASCAR was going to shorten their schedule. So I think signing up Dale Jr. long term probably didn't make a whole lot of financial sense in the last year. But now that they know what their slot's going to be, I bet you they come to some sort of an agreement.
Yeah.
Fairly soon.
Junior said on his podcast that they've been in talks with all the TV partners.
Yeah, I would assume Amazon's probably gonna.
I would not be surprised to see him pop up on Amazon or Turner. In addition to NBC.
Dude. Yeah, Amazon's got all the money.
Yeah.
They can do whatever the heck they want. And then Turner, we didn't have this in the note. Well, yeah, we do have it in the notes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We'll touch on it, but Turner's got things going on too, where they could bring in Dale Jr. and they've got some big plans, and then I'm sure that they might be a partner to consider as well, even though they've got a short Cup Series schedule. So
right,
maybe he's floating around between a couple of different spots.
If you're a company that's going to broadcast your first NASCAR race in a year, and you're not trying to get Dale Jr., you're nuts.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep. I mean, seriously, when Dale Jr. goes out and says, "I'm a free agent," if his phone isn't ringing off the hook from all the networks, those people should be fired because I mean, he's NASCAR. He's redneck Jesus, man.
Yeah, he is. Yep. Oh
You
yeah.
know? And
Yep.
he's just what he's doing with Dirty Mo right now with Dirty Mo Media is showing you. I mean, obviously a lot of that's Mike Davis too, but what they're doing over there shows you how important he is to NASCAR. So,
yep, absolutely.
Speaking of broadcasters, Doug Rice retiring from PRN at the end of the season. We don't talk about PRN a whole lot. MRN kind of tends to be the one we lean toward, probably because you and I have been to ISC tracks and NASCAR tracks more than we've been to SMI tracks. But Doug Rice, definitely a voice of PRN. We've heard him many years on PRN. Good to see he's getting a chance to hang it up at the end of the season. He'll definitely be missed for sure.
Oh yeah, farewell tour. PRN does a great job. Doug Rice has been there forever, man. He's you know, as much as the MRN guys are the voices of my youth, he is as well.
Yeah,
you know, he's been around. He's been around forever.
You go to an SMI track and you realize it's not MRN, but they still do a terrific job at PRN. So,
yeah, yep, absolutely.
You kind of hinted at this. ESPN, Fox, Warner Brothers, Discovery teaming up for a streaming service this fall. I like the fact that Fox is involved in this, and maybe I can drop cable because Fox is the one keeping me on cable with these streaming packages next year. So I'd love to drop YouTube TV and just go to just give me a damn NASCAR plan that I can just pay $20 a week or a year for the season and just have NASCAR. That's all I want.
Yeah.
I'll pay more to subscribe to NASCAR and Supercross and NHL. Just let me subscribe to the stuff I want. Yeah.
Yep. I know.
Any other thoughts on this, James?
This whole thing. Isn't that funny? Cable was dead.
Yeah.
Cable's back. Cable's back.
It's the same
Cable's
companies,
back, baby.
Same companies. It's going to be the same thing again and just be online, and it'll be better for them because they don't have to give you a box or put a satellite dish on your house anymore. They'll just connect to your internet and beam the stuff over to you, and it cost them less money.
Yep.
And they'll charge you more.
Yeah, I think they said what's it gonna be $50 a month for this service.
Yeah.
We already been down this road.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I
don't know.
Your buddy Tony is spouting off in the media this week. He's on the It's Not My Fault tour for SHR. Any thoughts?
I already told you I was worried about him.
Hold on. I'm gonna read this. So this is off of J-Ski, courtesy of Racer. Tony was asked, or basically said the subpar results at Stewart Haas will not be tolerated. God, I hope so, Stewart told SiriusXM NASCAR Radio about his optimism for a good season ahead. We've had 2 miserable years in a row, and I'm tired of taking the blame for everybody for why the cars aren't running well. I think the fans need a reality check and a reminder that I'm not the crew chief. I'm not the engineer. I don't dictate the setups on the cars. I give these guys the tools to do the job, and we just haven't got it done in the last couple of years. It's not my fault, James. It's not my fault.
I know, man. God, doesn't that sound bad? It sounds bad, doesn't it?
Sounds like he's throwing his team under the bus.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I don't want to hear it from him.
Doesn't sound like a team that's doing well.
Oh, I know. I was so bummed. That he went on that rant.
Yeah.
He said... When he said the fans need to get a reality check, I was like, oh,
that's vintage Tony Stewart, man.
Well, you know what though? He has no sponsors to answer to,
right?
So
yeah,
I guess he can say whatever he wants.
Nobody's gonna fire him.
I do respect the fact that he's like, you know what, we freaking suck.
Yeah,
and we've got to fix it. But he doesn't seem to have any answers for fixing it.
Yeah, the problem that I have, it's not so much the we suck, it's not my fault part of it. I mean,
yeah, I don't like that.
I get it, and I get the flack that he's getting, and we've done it on this show, or I've done it at least. But man, you're the team owner. Your name.
I know.
It's Stewart Haas Racing. Your name is the first one on the building.
I know.
Like, of course you're going to get the blame. That's what happens. Roush got the blame. Hendrick gets the blame. Childress gets the blame. That's who gets the blame, is the owner.
Yep. Yeah. The fact that he doesn't realize
Steinbrenner gets blamed when the Yankees suck. That's just how it is.
Yeah, he's still, I don't want to say that. I don't even want to say this word because they've turned it into a marketing gobbledygook, but he is just a racer. I know he's a smart businessman, but he's a racer.
Yeah.
And
that's why they're only hiring racers now, James.
Golly, man, that really annoys me too. It's hard. This is
I'm
hard
sorry
for
that
me.
I'm enjoying this because I really shouldn't, because I like smoke and I want to see that team succeed.
I like Chase Briscoe, like as a, like, I don't know, when he was in the Xfinity series, he was doing stuff that he wowed me a couple of times.
Yeah. You were excited when he won his first race.
I really thought
you came on this podcast and said he was your new guy.
I was really excited about what they were starting to look like over there. I'm not in love with what they're doing with Josh Berry. I'm not in love. Listen, man, I like Noah Gregson's talent as well, but they've got guys over there who have had a ton of Xfinity Series success and not a whole lot of Cup success.
Yeah.
So, Josh Berry, great in Xfinity Series, but he's my age. Briscoe, great in Xfinity Series. Noah Gregson, great in the Xfinity Series, but man, oh man, I don't know. It's tough. They got a long way to go. I don't want to see them in the Roush situation where they're down for 15 years, but
right.
Hopefully they can turn it around. I really do believe that they could. I mean, they've got good people there. Rodney Childers is still there. Zippy's still there, but they got a lot of work to do, man. They got a lot of work to do. I didn't like any of that. I didn't like any of that interview. I was not happy with any of that.
Yeah, I can't blame you. That's it for news, James. Any checkered flags this week? I'll throw mine out there right away because you'll probably disagree with me. I don't know if you got any others, but again, checkered flag for NASCAR for moving that race up. Checkered flag to Fox. Checkered flag to the teams. Everybody involved in running that race a day early. Kind of makes me wish that you could do it during the regular season because we've seen other chances or other times when it was pretty obvious we weren't going to race on race day. But
yep.
But good on NASCAR for making that happen and getting the teams back to worrying about Daytona and the race that actually matters instead of the one that doesn't.
Yeah, and I'll add to that for mine, the TV networks.
Yeah.
Thank you to Fox and FS1 and those guys and that whole team over there for getting it on, not bully, there's a lot of times in the Cup Series that the networks are driving a ton of stuff. But this was a good decision, and it doesn't happen without the TV partner saying, "Yeah, we can do that. We'll make it happen.
Right.
We'll sacrifice our Sunday time slot to let you get this in." So, kudos to them as well. I think they deserve a checkered flag for that.
Any black flags this week, James?
Oh boy. Yeah, one more time. I don't want to take shots at Jeff Gluck, because our friend over at Lap Traffic, Brandon, he had Jeff Gluck on his podcast, which I thought was really good. Actually, I listened to it.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, I agree. Great. It was a great episode.
And
I shouted out to him.
Before I give Jeff my black flag, I only give it to him out of love because I love his podcast. Jeff's been great for many years, even though he gets on my nerves sometimes.
Jeff semi-inspired this podcast to a certain extent.
Yep. And you get on my nerves too. So, no, but Jeff cheated so bad on the "Was It a Good Race" poll with Jordan at the end of their podcast this week that I was so disgusted. I almost tweeted it right at him, but he probably wouldn't see it anyway. But you can't cheat that bad.
I didn't even listen to it. What did he do?
So Jordan won last year, right? So Jordan wins the poll. Jeff has to dress all goofy at the 500. We're gonna see what that looks like. They go to the poll and Jeff says, "Jordan, you get to go first because you're the champ." So Jordan picks, I can't remember, 81% or something, and Jeff immediately goes 80.9, and I'm like, "Well, you bullied him into going first, and then you lowballed him." So Jeff, of course, Jeff won because Jordan picked a number that was way too high, and I was like, "God dang, what a cheat move that was!" I thought I thought he was cheating right at the moment. So anyway, I was gonna do my black flag for that, but it's not not a hate or anything like that. I just thought it was kind of funny, honestly. So there you go. Black flag to Jeff Gluck. Don't cheat.
My black flag goes to a former friend of the show, not really, but former topic of the show. Good old Natalie Decker, James.
Oh, there it is. I was wondering if you were going to do it.
I'm throwing it all Natalie Decker again. She's feuding with commenters on TikTok, and she challenged one of them to a go-kart race in Charlotte because he's from North Carolina. And I hope he accepts. I haven't gone back. Well, I've never intentionally gone to her page, so I guess if she pops up back in my feed again and I see the response, I'll know. Otherwise, I'm not gonna probably know.
Yeah.
But she keeps popping up in my TikTok feed, talking about how she went on this whole big rant about why drivers, if they can't get an Xfinity or truck ride, don't just run an ARCA season because it's just as expensive to race in the ARCA series with less exposure and good race car drivers. And she lost me at that when she said that because she's not speaking from experience there. So anyway, yeah, good old Natalie Decker gets my black flag this week. Stop arguing with people on TikTok and freaking go race and prove yourself.
And now she's racing at Daytona. She found a sponsor.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that goes. What lap does she wreck out? That's the question.
I sent you that message of her spotter, and that's the great thing about social media. You forget stuff.
Yeah.
And then it always comes back around.
Yeah.
And man, oh man, when I saw that clip and sent it to you, it really is a symphony of just it's just beautiful.
The only driver I've ever seen wreck under caution with the tow truck.
What was the video? What was the video you sent me a long time ago? Was it last year? Of there goes the field, and then what was it, like 15 seconds later? And then there's that.
Yeah.
I feel bad picking on her.
I don't.
Oh, man.
I don't. I think she brings it on herself because she talks big. So
let me ask you a question, because I've been thinking about this. Do you think I could beat her in a go-kart race?
Yes.
Really? You think I could?
I don't know, because I've never raced you.
But like, if we went,
you and I've never raced in a go-kart race, James.
We should do that. We should go to the indoor track. There's an indoor track not too far from us. We should do that one time. That'd be fun.
I know. I need to join one of the leagues at one of those things and just race.
And we can go to it's down by Shaq's Big Chicken too, so we could make a field trip out.
Yeah, I have no idea what your racing ability is, to be honest.
I was usually pretty fast.
Yeah,
I was pretty quick. Not like the quickest in the world, but
I don't know. We give her a lot of crap.
She is a real race car
probably
driver.
You probably don't get an ARCA ride without having some skills. So she's probably a lot better than what we give her credit for. And I hate to admit that.
Who's better, her or Frankie Muniz? I didn't stump you? Did I stump you?
Well, that was
a long pause.
What has Frankie done in a sports car? Because didn't he race sports cars and stuff too?
He did. Well, he had a top 5 finish in the ARCA series.
Yeah, because Natalie's got a win in sports cars. So
yeah, that's true.
I mean,
yeah, I've been wrestling with this. I think Natalie would beat me in a go-kart race.
Probably. She'd probably smoke both of us. She'd probably make us look like fools. She'd probably beat us by a freaking straightaway, James.
Well, and also, like, she probably weighs half of what
That's
I do.
True. Yeah.
So I'd have to get
half
some sort of horsepower.
Half of what you do, that'd be what? An eighth of what I do?
I don't know. We're picking on her too much, aren't we?
Probably. Well, right now I think we're giving her credit, so.
Yeah, we are.
I don't know. No, you're probably right. She'd smoke both of us. She probably, I don't know. She's better than.
I would.
Okay, here's one for you.
I would love to see that race.
Natalie Decker, Danica Patrick, who's better?
Oh, Danica.
You think so?
Danica's better. Yeah, I'm pretty definitive on that one. Yeah.
I mean, it depends. Is the goal to win the race, or is the goal to hit the inside wall at Daytona hard? Because Danica will definitely win that race.
Yeah, but Danica did some stuff.
I know.
Even though I know Danica's legacy is pretty challenging, but she raced in the Cup Series for a long time and had a pole in the Daytona 500 and won an IndyCar race.
Danica's whole problem in NASCAR is she moved to the Cup Series too fast.
Yes.
It wasn't skill. She moved to the Cup Series too fast.
There was money to be made.
She would have won an Xfinity race or more if she'd have stayed in the Xfinity race for another season or two. That's what she should have done.
I'll leave this here as maybe a teaser for another time.
Yeah.
But I was talking with somebody about who could come over to F1 and vice versa, and who would have some success. And I've been mulling that one over for a while, because I do believe Lewis Hamilton could come over here and be pretty decent. Like, if Juan Pablo had some sort of success over here, why couldn't Lewis Hamilton? You know what I mean? And I don't
How
know who
quick.
Well, that's the thing.
Because Juan Pablo did what? A partial year in ARCA.
He won
and
a race.
He ran the Xfinity Series, and for a year, I think, right? And then moved up to Cup. Is that what Juan Pablo did?
I'm gonna look at his stats really quick because he came to Cup pretty quick.
He was in Cup really fast.
Yeah, hold on, let me see. Hold on, it's loading. Yeah, he did 4 races in Xfinity in 2006, and then he came full time into Cup in 2007.
Okay, so he didn't even run a full Xfinity season.
And he won a race his first year. So if he could do that, can't Lewis Hamilton have a run in the? I don't know. Couldn't Lewis Hamilton maybe win a race?
Maybe.
I think he maybe could.
I think he probably could more now than he could have back then.
And I don't know who from the Cup Series could go over to F1. It's so different.
Kyle
Larson. Such a different That's what I said. That's what I said.
I feel like
Kyle Larson
he's
really
the only one. I would really like to see Kyle Busch get an Indy 500 chance because I think Kyle's got a lot of skill too, and I don't think we see it enough.
Kurt was really good in the Indy 500.
And I think Kyle's better than Kurt. And I think Kurt would tell you that.
And I think Larson's better than both of them.
Oh, so. 100%. I think Kyle Larson going to this Indy 500. This isn't a let's see if he can. It's not a let's see if he can finish. It's a let's see if he can win.
He's going to win. Yeah. He's going to go there and try to win.
There would be absolutely no shock for me if he wins that race. None. I would not be surprised.
Yeah, I don't think I would.
It'd be amazing, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that's the only driver I could think of. I said Kyle Busch as well, but I said if Larson went to F1 and actually spent time over there, he could find some sort of. It's just hard because it's a different.
I don't know that Larson even has to spend the time, to be honest, James. That guy's got so much natural talent to go jump in a late model and win your first race. I mean,
yeah,
the guy is amazing.
I know. I shouldn't have brought this up. I know.
I know.
Like if you put him in a Red Bull car, could he win? I don't know. I really don't know. But I think if you gave him some time, he might be competitive.
I think you put you in a Red Bull car, I think you could win. I think that's the way F1 is, man. I think it's more about the car than the driver.
I tell you what, if they ran the whole race and they said, James, all you had to do is run one lap and we'll give you the checkered flag, I don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
Those cars.
I don't know, dude. I could barely handle sitting in the back seat of in the pace car at Michigan, going 160 on the straightaway and 90 in the turns. I don't know that I could handle any of these cars.
Yeah, I know.
The G's are just amazing. You don't even realize.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible.
You know, I'll say Denny Hamlin. I know you're not a big fan of him starring in this Netflix series, but his opening line in the series about how you could you could go and throw a free throw that or a 3-pointer that Michael Jordan couldn't hit and putt a hole or hit a hole better than Tiger Woods, but one of those athletes can't get in Denny Hamlin's car and run faster than him. That was a great quote, and I think it very accurately represents our sport.
And I say to that, I say to that, I can get in my car and drive just like I can get on a court and shoot a 3.
It's different though.
I know it is.
You're not competing.
I know it is, but I can't shoot. I guarantee I can't dunk a basketball like Michael Jordan. No. You gotta lower the hoop down quite a bit,
true.
right?
That's true. I can't even do it with you.
But he is right. No, I give Denny crap, but he's not wrong. He's not wrong. It's so unique in what they do. And like you said earlier, bring it full circle. They're all maniacs.
Right.
They're absolute maniacs.
All right, James, I got to go to bed.
Let's go. I'm done too.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah. All right.
If people want to hit you up on social media and continue the conversation with you, how can they do that?
Yes, at James Cush on Twitter. And I wanted to add, I did post the fantasy league on there. So if you're a new listener and if you haven't done our fantasy league before and you want to sign up, it's on my Twitter page. I'll retweet it again. You got plenty of time before Daytona, but not that much time. So if you want to play, we're going to do it again. NASCAR's fantasy league. Go to my Twitter page, at James Cush, Kuch. There you go. Get it done.
Don't let me forget. Let's tease that right at the beginning of the next podcast, so
everybody
has it right at the start. So that way, if they don't listen to us ramble the whole time, they get it. You can find me at TSuperSpeedway on Twitter. You can also find me. I think it's eyoung whatever.
ABM.
Whatever. No, the new. What the heck is the thing called that Jack Dorsey just started? I can't think of what it's called now.
What are we doing?
It's a makeup. I'll comment on it next week because I just joined it today. It's the new Twitter. So whatever. Sorry,
Threads?
I'm derailing this thing. No, it's not Threads. It's better than Threads. It's Twitter. It looks like freaking Twitter. Oh,
Truth
geez.
Social?
No, not Truth Social. I am on there too, but I don't use it. Hold on. Now I gotta look it up.
Well, you're getting those Trump posts, eh?
Stop it.
We've been up too late.
Blue Sky. That's what it is. Blue Sky.
Oh yes, Blue Sky. There
Blue
you
Sky. Come on, you're a social media dude. You don't know about Blue Sky? Come
go.
on.
Dude, I'm trying as hard as I can to get out of it.
My God. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/thesuperspeedway. That's the tried and true way because Facebook is everything. It's all about Zuck.
Yeah.
Website is thesuperspeedway.com. You can find old podcasts there, new episodes, links to articles we discussed, all that stuff. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and Anchor. Subscribe for new episodes each week. And if you go to anchor.fm/thesuperspeedway, you can leave us an audio message. We might play it on the show. Also, go to Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review if you can. We'd appreciate it. That's it for this week's episode. We'll be back next week to do our season preview the Daytona 500, and get the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season underway. Until then, everybody, let's go racing.